On the Components and Cladding tab, there are options to display C&C summaries. This is a quick option that allows you to print an array of component and cladding pressures for all zones. First, you check the Summary option, and then some additional items are now visible below the Summary option. Clicking the Summary option will give you all wall and roof zones. If you have overhangs and you also want all overhang zones displayed, then you check the Summary option for overhangs. We will discuss the C&C areas option a bit later in this video. Now we can perform analysis. In the C&C section of the output, we now see a summary table. This table has all zones and the pressures for several C&C areas. The areas that are shown are pre-populated based upon the specific figures that are being utilized. If the figure has an inflection point on the curve, then those points are included. Let's consider Zone 30 for an area of 10 and 20 square feet. We see from the summary table that the pressures are different for 10 than they are for 20. To better understand why these values are different, let's refer to ASCE 722. In this example, the roof zones are taken from figure 30.3-5A. This figure is a semi-logarithmic plot, meaning it has a linear scale on the y-axis, but the x-axis has a logarithmic scale. The coefficient GCP is taken from this figure, and we can see that from 10 to 20 the coefficient decreases in value. Let's assume we are interested in the negative pressure for Zone 3 when we have a C&C area of 15. Since 15 is right in the middle of 10 and 20, we can do a straight interpolation by taking the average of these two values and get a pressure of minus 48.24 psf. Technically, this is not correct, since it is a semi-log graph. This time, let's do the calculation properly and use semi-logarithmic interpolation. Doing it the proper way, we get a slightly lower pressure of negative 47.84 psf, which is about 1% lower than our simple estimate of negative 48.24. The error could be greater if the two areas for interpolation are further apart. In addition, our figure was decreasing in value. If the opposite were true and the figure was increasing in value, then our simplified linear interpolation would have been unconservative and produced a value too low. There is another option that would help us be more accurate and not have to interpolate each time. If we return back to the C&C tab, there was an option for C&C areas. Click the button and let's now enter a value of 15. This will create a new column in our summary table for 15 square feet. Perform the analysis again, and now we see that the C&C summary has a column for 15 square feet, and the pressure of negative 47.84 matches the value we obtained by semi-logarithmic interpolation. The interpolation can be tedious and somewhat defeats the purpose of a simplified table. A more simplified approach is that when an area falls between two columns, use the higher of the two pressures. Although conservative, if the areas are not too far apart, this simplified approach isn't overly conservative.